Now we're going to take a look at subtracting fractions. We're going to start with the simple ones, and then we'll work up our way to the more complicated ones. Starting with number 1. Number 1, we have 4/5 minus 1/5. We already have a common denominator, so we go ahead and subtract our numerators. We're just going to subtract the numerators just like in addition. So 4 minus 1 equals 3 over 5. There is no common number between 3 and 5. They're both prime numbers. So that's it, 3 over 5. Number 2. Number 2, we already have also a common denominator, so we go ahead and subtract our numerators. 11 minus 5 equals 6 over 16. If you notice, even though they don't look like they might have a common number, they do. They both are even numbers, so at a minimum, I know I can divide by the same number of 2. So we divide both of them by 2. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. My final answer, 3 over 8. Remember, anytime you can reduce, you want to reduce. Number 3 is a little different because now we don't have a common denominator. Now my 8 and my 4 are different. However, the 4 can be turned into an 8 by multiplying times 2. So what I do to the bottom, just like in addition, I do to the top. I multiply times 1 to keep it the same. Now what I have is 7 times 1 is 7. 8 times 1 is 8. Minus 1 times 2 equals 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. Now we have a common denominator. We go ahead and subtract our numerators. 7 minus 5 equals 5 over 8. Because the 5 is a prime number, I can only divide it by 5. Because the 8 cannot be divided by 5, that's my final answer, 5 over 8. Anytime you have a common denominator, when you're doing subtraction, remember, when you don't have a common denominator, you want to make sure that you find one before you do any addition subtraction. This only applies for addition and subtraction. Example number 4. In example number 4, we have mixed numbers, and we already have a common denominator. So we don't have to worry about that, and we go ahead and do the subtraction. Just like in addition, we can subtract the whole numbers with the whole numbers and the fractions with the fractions. But before we do that, we always want to make sure we can do the subtraction. Can I subtract 7 from this? Can I subtract 3 from 7? Yes, I can. Can I subtract 1 from 5? Yes, I can. So I go ahead and subtract. 7 minus 3 equals 4. 5 minus 1 equals 4. 6 stays the same. Now I have 2 even numbers, so I know at a minimum I can divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And final answer becomes 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 2/3. Example number 5, we also have mixed numbers, but now we don't have a common denominator. Between the 5 and the 2, they're not the same, but I know that 5 can be turned into 10 and 2 can be turned into 10, so that's going to be my common denominator. So 5, I'm going to multiply it times 2. I multiply by the same number here. The 2, I'm going to multiply it times 5, and I'm going to do the same thing on top. My 6 stays the same. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. Minus stays the same. 3 stays the same. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Can I subtract 3 from 6? Yes. Can I subtract 5 from 8? Yes. So we go ahead and do the math. 6 minus 3 equals 3. 8 minus 5 equals 3. 10 stays the same. There is no common number between 3 and 10. My final answer is 3 3/10. On example number 6 is very similar to example number 5. However, there is one small difference. When we look for the common denominator, if you notice on all the examples we've done before, we've actually ended up multiplying the 5 times the 2 and the 2 times the 5. both denominators and multiply them times each other. In this case, we could do that. We can multiply the 6 times the 4, which would give me 24. 4 times 6, 24 also over here. And my common denominator could be 24. However, there is a smaller number we can use that is smaller than the 24, that it also works for 6 and 4. So what I recommend you do is use your large number as your guide and start multiplying the large number times all the numbers possible, starting with number 1. 6 times 1 is 6. 4 doesn't fit into 6. But then I do 6 times 2, which is the next number, 12. 4 goes into 12 3 times. I just found my smaller common denominator. So if you can do that, where you can grab the 12, or this, in case, I'm sorry, the 6, which is a larger number, and you start multiplying it times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4, until you get to 4, or you find a common number, you will find it. But the key is to do the numbers in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The ones are multiplying times a large number, and every number I check the smaller one. So 6 times 2 is 12, so multiply times 2. 4 times 3 is 12, so I multiply times 3. So now I go ahead and do my math. 9 stays the same. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. Minus 3 stays the same. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Now we have a common denominator. We look at our numbers. Can I subtract 3 from 9? Yes, I can. Can I subtract 2 from 9? Yes, I can. So I go ahead and subtract. 9 minus 3 equals 6. 9 minus 2 equals 7. And 12 stays the same. Because these are two numbers that have no common number between 7 and 12, that's my final answer, 6 and 7/12. And if you notice, at subtraction, I've been doing, can I do a 3 minus 9 and a 2 minus 9? The reason I keep doing that, I'm going to explain on the next video, because there are certain fractions when you're subtracting that you can't do that, and you have to borrow from the larger number. So take some time and look at the next video, and we will go into more detail as to what do you do when you can't subtract from the larger number in the front.